James Gandolfini starred in which American gangster series? Godfather? How can this be a politician? And sits there with no remorse that he's thick.
Jim Davidson and David Lammy clash fiercely live on air. Debate leaves viewers divided. You're not going to believe what just happened live on air. It started as a normal interview, two strong personalities, a microphone, and a conversation about politics and culture in modern Britain. But what unfolded between Jim Davidson and David Lammy had people glued to their screens, jaws dropped, phones out, recording every second. This wasn't just another talk show argument. It was one of those moments that stops scrolling dead in its tracks, the kind that ends up trending before the program even finishes broadcasting. Because in just a few fiery minutes, what was supposed to be a discussion about free speech and identity turned into one of the most intense political exchanges we've seen on live radio this year. The debate took place during a mid-morning broadcast on a major UK talk station. Jim Davidson, comedian, TV veteran, and longtime political firebrand, was invited to discuss his recent comments on British comedy, cancel culture, and political correctness. David Lammy, Labour MP, Deputy Prime Minister and one Labour's most outspoken voices, joined the conversation remotely. The topic was sensitive, already simmering with tension. Has modern Britain lost its sense of humour? The host barely got the introductions out before sparks started flying. Davidson kicked off with his trademark bluntness, saying, "Comedy used to bring people together now. You can't even tell a joke without someone calling it offensive." Lammy responded immediately, calm but firm. "Jim, that's because people are finally being heard. What used to be called just jokes often came at someone else's expense." And from there, it escalated fast. Davidson leaned into his point. He said comedians today are walking on eggshells, terrified of being cancelled for doing what comedians have always done, push boundaries. Lammy countered, saying free speech doesn't mean freedom from accountability. That in a diverse country like Britain, humor should evolve, not punch down. But then Davidson, with his trademark wit and timing, hit back with a line that instantly went viral. If being funny is now a crime, then Britain's sense of humor's already served its sentence. The studio fell silent for a beat. You could almost feel the moment hit. Lammy didn't flinch. He replied, sharply, "It's not about banning laughter, Jim. It's about understanding where the line is and who gets hurt when that line's crossed." That's when the temperature in the room went from warm debate to boiling point. Listeners flooded the station's live chat. Social media exploded. One viewer tweeted, "This is the kind of conversation we need, uncomfortable but real." Another wrote, "Jim saying what everyone's thinking, but no one dares to say out loud, 'Thank you, Jim.'" Meanwhile, Lammy's supporters pushed back hard. David handled that with grace. He stood his ground against outdated views and did it with class. For every person cheering Davidson's no-filter attitude, there was another praising Lammy's composure and conviction. And that's what made it so gripping. This wasn't a simple shouting match. It was a collision of two worldviews. Now, let's be clear, Jim Davidson's career has always walked the line between controversy and comedy. He's faced backlash before for comments that critics called out of touch, while fans defend him as a voice of the working class who refuses to bow to political correctness. Lammy, on the other hand, represents the other side of that cultural coin. So when these two worlds collided live on air, it was less of a debate and more of a cultural showdown. Halfway through the segment, the host tried to cool things down. He asked both men whether free speech and respect can coexist. Davidson, still fired up, said, "Of course they can. But not if every sentence needs a disclaimer first. People are tired of walking on eggshells, they just want honesty." Lammy came back, measured but passionate. "Honesty's fine, Jim, but it's not honesty if it ignores the pain of others. Freedom works both ways. You can say what you like, and people have the right to say when it's wrong." The exchange went on for nearly 15 minutes sharp, unfiltered, and impossible to look away from. By the time it ended, the host thanked both guests for their time, but the tension hung in the air like static. You could tell this wasn't just a debate. It was a moment that would ripple far beyond the studio. Within hours, clips of the segment spread across X, TikTok, and YouTube. Headlines followed. Davidson versus Lammy, culture clash erupts on live radio. Free speech or respect? The debate that split the internet. Even other comedians and commentators weighed in. One stand-up comic wrote on Instagram, "Jim's right about one thing: comedy's changed. But maybe that's not a bad thing." A journalist tweeted, "Two people can be right and wrong at the same time. That's what makes debates like this so vital." And perhaps that's the real takeaway here: it's not about who won. It's about what it revealed. Because this wasn't just about jokes, or politics, or even two strong personalities clashing. It was about where Britain stands right now in that space between tradition and progress, between freedom and responsibility, between speaking your mind and respecting someone else's experience. Davidson represents the voice of those who feel silenced by modern culture, people who miss the days when humor felt simpler, rawer, less policed. Lammy speaks for those who believe society should evolve, that words matter, that laughter shouldn't come at someone's expense. And right there, live on air, those two visions of Britain collided and neither side backed down. By evening, the full clip had been viewed over 2 million times. Hashtags like #Davidson vs. Lammy and #free speech debate were trending. People weren't just talking about the argument, they were having it in pubs, group chats, and family dinners across the country. That's the power of moments like these. They remind us that politics isn't just about Parliament, it's about identity, emotion, and how we see ourselves as a nation. So, what happens next? Will this clash spark a new wave of debates about free speech and comedy? Or will it just fade, like so many viral moments before it? Either way, one thing's certain: the conversation's not over. Because every time someone like Jim Davidson and David Lammy step into the same room, Britain gets a little glimpse of its biggest argument: who we are and who we're becoming.